Spies. I'm the senior warden of Trinity Cathedral, and looking around, I'd like to declare that we have a quorum present and can proceed with business. Please, Carla is representing the nominating committee and working with balloting. And if anyone needs a ballot, please raise your hand and we'll get you one. And if anyone needs to deposit your ballots, Carla has a basket for them. And we will, it's now, I have 10:19, and 10 minutes from now, balloting will be closed. So thank you very much. And that's all I have. I'll turn it back to the Dean's report.
Am I driving? Oh, good, I am. Good. Well, as I said a moment ago, much of what I want to share with you is either in the Dean's, the pastoral letter that I wrote that is in your inbox. It's, as usual, it's 3 or 4 pages, so have a cup of coffee, give yourselves time to get through it. But I took this moment to talk a little bit about where we've been over the last 5 years, as well as where we are, what we're excited about, and where we're headed. And so I think it's very much a season of creativity. And I want to share some really positive things that have been happening. Before I jump into that, actually, I have heard many times in the last 6-8 months, as well as felt it myself, anecdotally, there is a shift that has happened. We are now, I would like to say we are several years out of COVID, and technically speaking we are, but I'm wearing a mask today because I had an exposure over the weekend. So as those of you in the splash zone, if you feel you need to step away, I won't have my feelings hurt. But it's still a reality, and it's a reality that the world is changed. People are participating in things in different ways, and I think in many ways we are rebuilding from where we were a few years ago, and I think that's our story. We are not trying to echo, as every church in America, we're not trying to echo a golden age of 10 years ago, 50 years ago, or 100 years ago. There is no golden age. There is no lead age, there is just the age. It's where we are. And in that moment, there are great things happening. First of all, we've seen an 8.5% growth in attendance in the last year. That's Sunday morning attendance. I love this. 115 people in the last 5 years. This is through a really hard time. Have joined the life of the cathedral. And yes, some people have come and moved along, and we've taken that out. So these are people who, whether they're members, whether they're others active, where we just see them occasionally, we still do see them. That's 115 new people, which is really remarkable. Of our pledge base, and we know we still would like to continue to grow. We are still off of where we were years and years ago. However, 28% of the pledge base that we have today, that's $115,000 in pledge, is new in the last 5 years. That means new people. That means people who have grown. Friends, that is huge. That in this season of transition and pandemic, we have continued to grow, and that this is very much the early shoots of what I hope will be a cathedral, a congregation that continues to grow in engagement, in faith, and yes, in participation. Christmas attendance is not everything. Many churches have begun to see this starting to change again in a positive way, and this year it was 50% higher in person than last year. It's just a marker, a really helpful one, but we're seeing things like mission teams bearing fruit, Greater Cleveland congregations, one-on-one meetings, Sunday schmooze, Mary and Sterling, things like commissioning a new hymn and growing in diocesan engagement. But I want to talk a little bit more broadly about where we are for the next 2-3 years. In any situation of a church of this size, this level of complexity, probably just about anywhere, this is a season when really good things can start to happen because we built trust. because there's a sense of not just momentum, but energy that is new and released as we've gone through challenging times, but begin to sense of, wait a minute, God is doing some things with us that we hadn't thought about, and being open to that. And so we'll continue to build trust, continue to look at a structure that allows us to do the ministry we value while articulating vision. And you saw this graphic in your annual report. I'm not going to talk about the whole thing other than to say this is the iceberg, and that all of these things, I love to do this, all of these things are the hard work of aligning our vision and our structure and our ministry leadership, so that all the things that we love become visible and manifest in the work that we do. And we didn't plan it this way, but because of what the pandemic allowed us to do, because of the season, this is really where we've done a lot of our work, so that whenever we've said, gosh, things don't quite feel right, we always have an idea of what that is, but we really often need to step back and say, which of these larger pieces are not? I really like this sort of back glow. Can we just sort of keep this all the time? All right. So, really gifted to have gone through a challenging year of staff transitions. If you asked me a year ago, I didn't know this, we were going to see as much change as we did. I'm sorry that we did, and I'm also so excited. Some of these are new positions, while some of these are rehires after we've gone through transition. So we welcome Cheryl Williams, Brett Boardwine. We will welcome Shiloh Roby in about a month. We welcome Morgan McCaskey, John Silvis, Terrence Hunter, and Grant Barnes. What are we going to be looking to in the next year? We're going to be looking at creativity and capacity building. How do we really come alongside what the Spirit is doing with us? We're going to talk about planned giving. We're going to recognize that this is how we care for the church for the decades and generations to come. It's something that over the years we've often almost started on. Often almost started on, and now we are going to start on it. You will be hearing very soon about Realm. We have changed of necessity the app, the church management system, and it will now be, rather than Trinity Connect, it will be Realm. In the coming days and weeks, look for invitations, because you will need to download the app. You will need to opt in so that you can get directories, so that you can be a part of directories. And then later this month, February 25th, we'll have a forum on building the Realm community. We're in the midst of social justice one-on-one conversations, at least 50. I think we're going to have more. If you want to be a part of that, just let me know, and we'll make sure that you're a part of that conversation. That will help us discern where our energy and our capacity is. We're doing the work of congregational development. We're expanding of community ministry through Trinity Commons, and we're deepening our lay leadership in the city and the diocese. This is Realm. When you see an email from Ginger or the church and you see this app, you're not getting spammed. This is a great opportunity. Follow through with that. Okay, with that, I turn you over to Jeff Spees, your senior warden.
Thank you. As one of its goals for 2023, your vestry committed to contact each parishioner individually. If you remember, back in May and June, you got emails and calls from vestry members. We will probably do something like that again this year, so don't be surprised. And well, I can't tell you to pick up the phone from a number you don't recognize. That's the world we live in. But it's a deal. But know that we really do want to know what you think, what you are celebrating or suffering, and how we can serve you better. Your vestry is here to serve you, and we can do it much better if we know your concerns. But in order to communicate with you, we need to know how. BJ has just talked about the rollout of the Realm membership portal, and the only thing I'm going to reemphasize is that the membership directory piece of that, which is an important thing for our community, will require an opt-in. And I hope you will all opt in to allow us, you to have access to the directory and to be part of it so that other people can have access to you. The second point I'd like to make, oh, Brett, I like your graphics better than mine, was that this year there were transitions in the music staff of the cathedral. And the reason this is part of the senior warden's presentation is because I had the opportunity and honor to be involved in a lot of the discernment process that happened here. Very early this year, we hired Morgan McCaskey as music director for the Abundant Table service, and those of us who are 9 o'clockers will acknowledge that she and her colleagues have successfully developed a sound and depth and inspiration that I know I am treasuring. Midway through the year, Todd Wilson informed us that he would retire as of this past January 1. And after a wide-ranging search, the committee was able to present Dean Owens with several outstanding candidates, the final result being the call of Shiloh Roby, who will begin his tenure here March 4th. And I saw on the calendar his unofficial tenure will begin the day before when he's up for a forum, I do believe. So for most of us, the music of worship is intimate and treasured. And not surprisingly, through all these processes, we heard many concerns and questions. But having been involved in the search processes and their aftermath, I guess I can't make it as an announcement, but I'll make it as a testimony that the excellent and superb music program at Trinity Cathedral remains strong and is in capable hands. As Dean Owens mentioned, he's been here for 5 years. He's kind of mentioned that a few times. During this time, he's led us through difficult times of transition and the local effects of a worldwide pandemic. And it is clear to me in watching that we are now emerging with energy, inspiration, and hope. Now, I looked up what the traditional gift is for a 50-year anniversary, and it is wood. Now, if this was a typical gift, it might be an artistic carving or a handcrafted salad bowl, but I like this one better, lumber. Because much of the envisioning and planning that your dean and vestry are doing right now is framing in the structure. I loved it that I think it was the Weekly E-News, but in a very recent communication, BJ used the term laying the foundation. And I think we are now in the putting up the framing in the structure for ongoing growth of the congregation. Along with the cathedral staff and other leadership, we're working with our common goal of keeping and growing Trinity as that destination that is a sacred place for all people, and that launch pad for proclaiming in word and action God's justice, love, and mercy. I will emphasize that in mid-2025, BJ will likely take a sabbatical for about 3 months. We are in the planning stages now to make sure that there are no lapses in the cathedral's ministry during that time, and you should be happy to know that we're in the process of applying for a grant to support both BJ's activities and any activities that we might wish to be involved in. BJ's working theme for this period is Vision Walk, and we hope to host parallel events or activities here with the same theme. Now, as part of the grant application process, we really want to know any questions or concerns that you might have with regard to the sabbatical process or what activities might look like here. The task force that, as it currently stands, includes Uta Vilfroy, Marie Kittredge, Ted Andrews, BJ, and myself. So please let us know if you have any questions or concerns about the sabbatical, or ideas about what vision walking might look like here, and especially if you want to be on a planning committee. That would be great. And thank you very much. I'll turn it over to the treasurer, Paul Hergesell.
All right, good morning everyone. I'm Paul Hergesell, your treasurer, and I want to review our Cathedral's 2023 financial results with you. I am happy to report that the financial health of the Cathedral is in good order. In short, our income for 2023 was more than what we had budgeted for, and our expenses were lower than what we had budgeted. So this allowed us to rebalance, or to balance our budget with a reduced draw from the endowment. All good things. And let's get rid of this guy's picture. And all right, so let's talk a little bit about some of the numbers here. You have these in your packet. They're also in the annual report, so you can feel free to follow along there. Okay, so this is our sheet which shows our income. And you can see on the bottom line here, if I can get my pointer to work, this total income here of $1,847,000. This is made up of these parts here, starting at the top with congregational support at $578,000. And this was 12% greater than what we had budgeted, and of course that's due to the generosity of the congregation. Our other sources here include grants, total earned income, and friends and corporate support. Those items came in close, but a little bit lower than what we had budgeted. And then the last item that you see there is the endowment, which is the big portion of our support, and that was at $1,142,000. So then if you look at the pie chart, you can see where all these components are. This portion of the pie chart is all the congregational support, and this big blue section is the endowment. Okay, so I'd like to explain a little bit about how we create the budget each year. So we forecast each of these income sources that I've described here. And as an example, we conduct our stewardship campaign in the fall, so we can use that pledge data to forecast our congregational support for the upcoming year. And we do that for the other categories. The next step is to determine how much contribution we will need from the endowment to balance our budget. And we do this by budgeting our expenses, which I'll go through in a moment. And our goal is to balance the budget so that income minus expenses is equal to zero. And the amount we draw from the endowment is the additional income we need to balance the budget once we have budgeted for our expenses. So a key element in budgeting is to look at our expenses each year, and then that determines where we're going to end up with the endowment. All right, so let's go to the expense side of things here. So we categorize these as you see here, starting with the work that we do as a church: worship and liturgy, spiritual formation, congregational care, and our mission activities. We follow that up with some of the expenses that we incur in managing our operations. The diocesan assessment is what we and all the churches pay to the diocese to support the diocesan activities. This is determined by the size of your expenses, or basically the size of your budget. Next, we have the Trinity Commons net contribution. This is the Cathedral's contribution to support the activities in the Trinity Commons, which is something, this is a responsibility that we also share with the diocese. And then property and administration covers our costs for the maintenance, operations, insurance, and staff to operate the cathedral facilities. So you can see our total expenses are $1,847,000, the same number as our income. So income minus expenses gives us a net surplus of $0, which is our goal for our budget. The important thing here to recognize is that this expense line, the $1,847,000, is $300,000 less than what we had budgeted. So we had a big savings on expenses. The reasons we had for that was due to a slower than expected recovery from the pandemic, especially in the first half of 2023. And then as BJ had mentioned, we were also short a number of positions that were in the budget but unfilled. And so the impact there is that we have less expenses, but we're also shorthanded in doing the work that we need to do. Thankfully, as Dean said, those positions are now filled. All right, and then the last topic here is to talk a little bit about the endowment itself. So we see here that we started the endowment with $20,197,000 at the beginning of 2023. And then you'll see there's a list of impacts or changes to the endowment. One is contributions directly to the endowment, withdrawals for 2023 operations, and that's the number we talked about in the income page there. Withdrawals for capital, and those are projects that we're doing to fix various parts of the facilities and buildings. Mark Biddlestone is going to talk a little bit about that in just a few minutes. And then there's the gains to the investment portfolio, which this year were over $3 million. So net change in value, after we take our draw and after we get our income gains, we gained $1,753,000 in the endowment. So a very good year, and that's thanks to some very positive activity in the financial markets. And then you can see on this page that leaves us with an increased value at the end of the year of $21,950,000 for the endowment. So summarizing 2023, congregational support was strong. We carefully managed our expenses, and this resulted in a reduced draw on the endowment, all very positive results for the year. In 2024, we are fully staffed. The vestry has approved our 2024 budget, so we look forward to a strong year of worship, congregational care, and outreach activities throughout the year. I'd like to say thank you to the congregation for your support. Thanks also to the clergy and the staff and their efforts throughout the year in managing our activities and expenses. And especially I'd like to thank Dan Hout-Riley, our controller. Dan is around, he's right here. Dan is really, yes, he deserves, yes. Dan is our key guy and the key guy in managing our financial activities. And lastly, I want to encourage anyone in the congregation who has questions or comments regarding our financial results today or at any time, feel free to contact me or Dan, email, phone, whatever works for you. We'd be happy to talk to you and explain what's happening with our financial activities. All right, thank you. And I'll turn it over to Kim.
Okay, thank you, Paul. I don't have slides, and so I just am looking at a picture of myself. Also, there are some glasses up here. Somebody just left those. I'll put them here so we don't lose them. All right, so I have a very brief report. I'll keep us on time, but I do want to share with everybody that Jeff mentioned that it was BJ's 5-year anniversary just during the month of December. And yes, the traditional gift is wood, but Jeff and I went with a really modern gift for him, a DoorDash gift card. Mm-hmm. We know what a dean needs when his wife is out of state many times. So we talked a little bit about some of our new staff members, and I just wanted to point out that this is really positioning us in a good place. We had longtime staff members who moved on to other positions, and so those were big holes to fill. So we're really appreciative and excited about Brett Boardwine coming on board, as well as John Silvis, who is our operations manager. And I think that we really owe a lot of debt to Corrine Wallner for continuing to share her knowledge and her time while not officially an employee of the of the Cathedral anymore. She really helped us.
Wait, she's not?
She's
She's not?
she's right. She's not what? Oh no. But I wanted to point out all that Corrine did for the Cathedral, even when she moved on to a new position. This is a complex facility. I'm sure that's not a surprise to any of you, with a lot of intricacies, and Corrine helped really, I think, smooth that transition to John. And then finally, of course, we are extremely excited to have Cheryl Williams on board as our new Director of Development and Community Programming. We're going to hear a lot more from her this year as we start thinking about our future plans. So a couple other areas that I want to talk about. First of all, last year, Jeff reported about the creation of the 8 mission teams that we created in 2022. And so we've had a full year of those teams. And in September, we held a dedicated mission team retreat. So we took several hours of a Sunday afternoon, and we had 4 important points. We reviewed how each team met their goals from their 2022 retreat and planning. We discussed those accomplishments. We had ideas and concrete plans for succession planning, and then each team also brainstormed about the future. So we're going to hear more about them as time goes on, but we really feel that they've been very successful. Each month, one team reports to the vestry on their recent activity, and then also each month you have seen that one team will staff an information table in order to connect with the wider congregation. The teams are supported by the Cathedral Ministries Committee, which is one of the 4 committees of vestry, and the Cathedral Ministries Committee put on that retreat. And just as a reminder, those 8 mission teams are in alphabetical order, not order of importance: adult faith formation, children and youth, congregational life, diocesan and national church ministry, invite, welcome, connect, that's all one team, neighborhood partnerships, peace, justice, and mercy, and then worship, art, and music. So that's news about the mission teams, and we can certainly entertain questions about them as well. And then my final portion is to talk about the upcoming vestry retreat. I think BJ alluded to that in the 9 o'clock service, but for those of you who didn't hear, this coming Friday and Saturday, the vestry will be at Bellwether Farms for a short retreat off-site. We're going to be setting our priorities. We're going to learn about the spirituality of fundraising. BJ is going to teach us about that. Paul is going to lead us through a deeper discussion about our finances and what the future holds there. And then Bishop Ann Jolly will be there too, and she's going to facilitate some other planning and spiritual conversation for all of us. So we'll be excited to report back after we have that retreat. And now I will move on and move away from this picture of me. All right, Mark.
As Mark comes to the mic, I just want to affirm that between convocation yesterday and annual meeting today, the DoorDash gift card was tremendously helpful last night. Perfect gift. Thank you very much.
All right, good morning. My name is Mark Biddlestone. I'm on the Property and Sustainability Committee under Dave Miano. We don't have slides either, and for the sake of time, we were going to do that short video clip of that church collapsing in Connecticut.
Oh, no.
But we thought that'd be a little too rough, so that's why we exist. We exist so that doesn't happen. So what did we do in 2023? So we worked on stained glass windows. As you know, we have 4 of them that are out at Whitney Stained Glass. We toured the facility. Very, very great. I felt really good about being there and having seen what they do, the enthusiasm they have about stained glass. I think is it Peter? That's the main guy there? Yeah. I think Peter was put on the earth because he does stained glass. That's his thing. And so he was really enthusiastic about our stained glass, had done a lot of research on our stained glass, had found some book references on our stained glass windows, which was pretty impressive. And so those first 4 are progressing well. You can see some of the empty spots throughout the building where those are missing. They should come back early spring. We have another window that has yet to come out, and that's the music room window that will come out in the first quarter of this year, and work will begin on that, and all 5 of those will be put back in place spring, summer of 24 is our anticipation. So next we did some cathedral sound system upgrades to the nave we did in 2023. A lot of building masonry repairs in 23, and those will continue in 24, and some more minor ones in 25. But in 23, as we do each of the windows, we will have Frost, who does our masonry work, repair all the window openings, and so those are ready for the windows to be put back in, and they're sealed tightly. We did some work on the facade of the cathedral itself. Those are minor repairs that we did that were the recommendations from an ordnance and safety inspection, so those were taken care of. Did a lot of work on parish house, certain elevations, flashings, capstone seals, and the east elevation of the chimney. Euclid Avenue, the stone privacy wall over here by the courtyard on the north side, that was leaning a little bit. There also needed to be some tuck pointing done on that as well, so that was straightened up, and that work was completed. We did the Cathedral Hall repairs, which was a surprise for us with a water line break on the second floor. That was quite a project that Corinne did, and it came out really very well, so that's been done as well. So looking to 2024, stained glass project will continue. We have 5 additional windows that are slated to go out. All these are done in order of need. Those that have to be done are being done. Those that don't, we put off. So those will be the 3 vesting room windows inside the room over here. There will also be the large window that we can't see behind the Flentrop organ. That window has some areas in it that are open, and it exposes that instrument to some of the weather, which we do not want. And so that needs to be done. And the first window on this east wall, first level, will be taken out and will be redone as well. So that will start in the spring and will continue on. Building masonry repairs continue with parish house, repointing of the north and west elevations will be done. The west elevator tower, and again, all flashing and capstone sealants will be done. Cathedral Hall repointing and stone patching on those elevations will be done. The west wall here along the 22nd Street, that wall needs to be tended to. We'll take care of that. Repointing all surfaces and patching and resetting some of the stones on that wall. And again, as we do stained glass windows in the next 5, the masonry around those openings will be reset and redone, so those are ready to go. So cathedral crack investigation. So we've noticed some additional cracking in some of the not structures, but areas in the building. We had an initial report on those. We're told those are not serious. They're not to be of great concern. They're not structural in nature, but we're going to go on and we're going to have a full formal an evaluation done on those through WJE and Barber and Hoffman. So Dave Miano is kind of heading that up. So we'll have an assessment done in the 2024 year and see what recommendations they have for us to go forward. The good news is that they're called out as not major concerns, and that's good. We have some other things we need to do on the outside. Door refinishing. The 3 front doors of the cathedral need to be refinished before they deteriorate further, and that work becomes more expensive, so we're going to try to get in front of that, get those done. We're also going to do the south-facing door in the Cathedral Hall area. There's little panels on that are starting to delaminate and come off, and that's getting to be a pretty big project. So we want to get in front of that before it gets beyond what we want to take care of. Lighting upgrade, we'll do that right on cue. Lighting upgrade in...
I think we're done with the PowerPoint now.
Okay, good. Okay, I thought that was part of my presentation when you turn the lights on. So the crossing and chancel areas where we will focus, we'll get that project set up and ready to roll early 2024 and get working on that. So 2025, the committee's trying to really start to look out ahead to try to plan further ahead so that there aren't fewer surprises. So some of the things we see coming up in 2025 would be the continuation of the stained glass window restoration. We'll have to continue on more minor masonry repairs, getting in front of those so they're not more expensive and more deterioration before we jump on those. HVAC, we have to look at the mechanical systems, the geothermal, the heat pumps, and also the main control system that runs all those things. We're going to do an assessment on those and start to get a feel for what the life expectancy of those are and what might be required to keep that up and running well. We'll continue on some of the other exterior doors that need to be refinished. We will look at the parking lot resurfacing and striping. We have a project for Cathedral Tower louver restoration that we've put off for a few years, and we're getting more to the point where we need to take attention to that. There's some cracks in the floor in the cathedral here, and we're going to take a look at those and see what it would take to get those repaired, and also we'll consider replacing some of the carpet in the common area. So kind of number of things that we're looking at for 25. That's it. Thank you.
Slides real quick. All right, and I'm going to get her that we get her report out to you. Am I? Oh, I'm sorry. How about that? There we go. We'll make sure we include her report as in our email coming out soon. I do have one more person I want to thank, and that is I had the curious situation of I had a member of the staff who was showing up and doing just fantastic work every day, but still asked me to fire him every week, and that was Bill DeTiro. This was a challenging year because this is such a complex space, and it's not a job, it's stewardship. And I'm so grateful that Bill, who has been a part of this, not only this congregation, but also a part of the Property and Sustainability Committee, who stepped into the breach to help us to carry through as we took time to find our operations manager, who is John Silvis. So a round of applause for Bill very much for being here so regularly. And by the power invested in me, Bill, you're fired. Let me rephrase that. No. Okay, so we do have a little bit of time. We'd love to hear questions that you have. You can also email us. Those of you, Paul and Jeff and Kim, be ready to hop up if it's a question you can field. But what's that? It's a very smart man. Not sure where he's going. So raise your hand. I wonder if, Audrey, would you be able to carry the mic to people who are speaking up? Dorothy has her hand up.
Make sure it's working. Thank you.
It is on.
I want to take this opportunity to thank our sound engineers that make all of this work every Sunday.
Amen. Thank you.
Moving forward, I'm wondering if it would be possible for the vestry to give kind of a global report back on the telephone calls and emails that each individual vestry member calls to members. I was delighted when that happened this year, and then I kind of waited not to get feedback on my particular concerns, but I wondered, whether there was some kind of global finding about what people thought.
You want to come on up? Did everyone hear the question? Okay.
Create a spreadsheet. Well, Jeff created a spreadsheet for us to keep track of who we reached, what kind of call it was. So we have that data. Jeff, perhaps you and I can crunch that together and get that out. So I think that's an easy thing to do. Maybe after we have our retreat, we could do that. But Jeff, BJ, and I meet frequently, and I think we can look at that data to talk about percentages or numbers of who we contacted, who needed a follow-up, etc.
And I think when we talked about it in conversation, the aggregate, so to speak, is for the most part, it really was quite positive, and people were glad to hear the call, and we're like, thanks for calling. And then there's not a whole lot of stuff to follow up on, but when people had specific concerns, we would follow up with them as best we could. But that doesn't still fully answer your question in terms of what did people like and what didn't people like. Jeff, is that a fair capturing of kind of the aggregate?
I think it's absolutely correct. And there were individual concerns, yes, that got directed to the right person. The number one answer was, thank you so much for calling. I'm just really happy that the vestry is doing that. That was the number one answer. Actually, the number one answer was not getting back to us. But that's fine. Right?
And for those who said that, go ahead to whoever's raising their hand. I do want to thank the vestry. This is a hard-working vestry. It takes a lot to keep a cathedral going. And I am so grateful to Jeff and to Kim and to Paul and to the whole vestry for your support and your faithfulness. And to Daryl. Yes.
Daryl is the vestry clerk.
I have a question on the endowment and general trust fund.
Thank you. And go ahead and say your name too, Mike Knobloch.
Regarding the net change in value, were all the returns, investment income and gains, were all those investment returns, or were there any planned gifts included in that amount? And if so, just curious how much.
Good question. With Paul.
Yes. So when you look at the results there, the first line is contributions directly to the endowment. So it's around $80,000, I believe. That was the nature of gifts to the endowment. So the gains is really fundamentally the investment increases in the endowment itself. Does that answer the question?
One of your slides, Reverend Sir, showed that the next years 5 through 8 are critical for your ministry and for your leadership to the cathedral. Since we have time, could we impose on you to spend 5 minutes or so to talk to us about what those 3 years might expect, given your creative leadership? I think it would be quite exciting to hear where you plan to take us.
Thank you, Howard. I think that one of the reasons, yes, I've talked a lot about the milestone, and that's partly so that we can acknowledge the seasons of transition that we've been in and now do exactly that, which is really do the work of digging in and seeing where this particular cathedral, what is the charism, the gift, sorry about that, of our community. I think this is why the one-on-one conversations are so vital. I know that there is a great passion for us to be engaged in something that is really critical and important. And whether that is racial and or environmental justice, and I think those two are very much together. I am passionate about housing and trying to discern where there is hands-on work that we can do and where at more of an advocacy level we can, as a cathedral, be casting a vision that helps to draw a lot of the folks who are involved in this in Cleveland to see that. I think we don't raise our visibility in Cleveland because we like to get our picture taken. We do it because it helps to deepen the story. And I think there's a lot of folks wanting to do good work in Cleveland that we can really be a rallying point. And I'm looking forward to that. I think the work of the College of Congregational Development has been really helpful because we are seeing that we have within us the capacity to be an ever more dynamic congregation, which only deepens our justice work, which only strengthens our worship and music work. I am tremendously excited about Shiloh Roby. I think we have We have someone who is able, one of the great gifts of being a cathedral is we're able to do multiple styles of worship, multiple things at once, and to do them well. But we've also, in our work at differentiating ourselves so well, we have become a number of different congregations. And I firmly believe that we can retain our distinctive voices in different expressions, and even grow in that, while also getting away from this idea that, like, you know, if it's X, it can't be Y. If it's Y, it can't be X. And I think that has probably held us back a lot. And so that rather than I think we will continue. I'm so proud of what the Abundant Table service has been, because we've discovered that something can sound different, but still be the essence of what we need, what we hunger for. And I think that's, you know, in terms of discerning where vision takes us. Consider, you know, look at they're just stats, but look at where we've grown financially. Look at where we've grown in terms of participation. Through 4 or 5 really tough years. And there is a whole lot to be said for what we bring to Sunday morning when we show up. And if we show up, you know, the first year was tough, right? Because, like, oh, we're going to do great new things, but I can see out there, and there's when it's like, right? It's really hard to build and to grow. I mean, we should laugh because we can look back over our shoulders. But we were also more invested in that energy than in growing and doing the things that we say that matters to us. Right? We were more invested in that, far more. And yet we still continue to grow. And yet we still continue to draw in new people. And I want to challenge you all. I want to challenge you all to say, if this is what we did in a season of transition and challenge, what is in front of us? I want to challenge you to imagine that we aren't just trying to improve on where we've been, but we have the capacity to go places we have not been. Do you believe that? I believe that. I believe that firmly. But we each have to believe that. And we each have to be evangelists for that, because here's one of the wonderful things about Trinity. We are a far broader and deeper community than we see around this circle. When we went to, we got a table at the City Club this week to be present for the Reverend Naomi Tutu. And folks were all, you know, saying, Trinity, we're so glad to see you. There's a momentum there. There are people who have been part of this cathedral over the many years who might just be missing out because they haven't been in the door in the last few years. Can you pick up that phone and call and say, this is something really special? Are there people who have never been in these doors before? And the reason why I'm doing this is because this is such a moment for momentum if we want it. This is such a great moment for us. And so I want to celebrate that. And Howard, I appreciate the call, and I think I'm starting to preach, and I apologize. But there is such a great opportunity for us as a cathedral congregation, as the ability to serve this diocese, to be present, to do music that grows us and draws people in. Are we ready for it? Amen. That's a question. Are we ready for it? Yes. Are we going to be evangelists for it? Are we going to draw other people into it? Woo, I'm getting excited. I'm going to stop.
BJ,
does that answer your question?
It's currently 11:07, and I'm going to recommend...
What time is it?
It's 11:07.
It's church time. Are we ready for it? I got carried. Let me go. We have one quick question in the back, and then Luke.
Yes.
And then I'll push us back a little bit on church, and then we'll get back to it.
My name is David Craddy, and I apologize for the language in this question, but what is going on with Mather Hall, if anything?
No. much of the same, to be fully transparent, but with a greater awareness of where we are in the timeline. So I continue to have exploratory conversations. We know that any conversation we know, as I've said in the last few years, it's not getting better by sitting out there by itself. We are dependent on a productive conversation with our bishop and with our diocese, because that's going to be a shared piece of work. And frankly, I think there have just been a lot of demands on that transition as well. So Bishop Ann and I are slowly beginning that conversation. So the answer is kind of that. We continue to work with it. It continues. And I think part of it is we're talking about capacity building. We're going to be talking really practically about that in the coming year. The question in the case of something like Mather is, are we ready to get into capacity building? What is the vision first? And the challenge of that is its unique size. What are the missional needs? What can we do with it? What is the cost around it? And I would also argue we have had so many significant processes before us that it has made it difficult for us to rally what we needed for it. But I believe we are far closer to that process, but I don't have a concrete answer yet. Luke.
Great.
Paul, I've just got a couple of questions for you that relate to last year and then to this year. It's all good. This past year, wasn't it true when you were presenting that we were saying because of the way the markets were performing, we actually had to draw down more on our trust fund and endowment than we made?
Yes, because
and we cut into that a little bit because we got some CARES Act money.
Correct.
Yes. Okay. I just wanted to point out that we are so close. Actually, we made so much money. It was $3.1 million this year that we actually are almost netting the same amount as our expenses, which is like incredible. I mean, that's like impossible to perform that well. So the fact that we've turned it around that much is spectacular. I mean, for a place that has 36% is on our pledges and niche income and 62% is on our endowment, the way that we've turned it around this year is unbelievable. And I just wanted to say that it's amazing how well our endowment has performed turning around this year. If we could expect that well or better, it's very healthy.
Well, it is very good for us. I wish I could take credit for the S&P 500 going up 25%, which is a big reason for that. So, I mean, from our investment strategy is you have to be very careful not to be focused year to year, because 2022 it went down, 2023 it went up a lot. So we are looking forward and trying to plan a more balanced approach. So what we look at, we have a 5% draw from the endowment that the vestry approves each year. That 5% is based upon an average endowment value of the past 20 quarters. So the idea is, sometimes the markets go down, sometimes they go up. But historically, over time, they do go up. And so we want to make sure that just because we made $3 million last year, we're not going to go take it all out. We use that 20-quarter rule, so we have an average, and that's how we balance all these fluctuations in the market so that we, have a prudent strategy as far as managing our endowment. But yes, we always like it when the markets go up. That's good for all of us, right?
We also had a lot of empty desks this year, too.
Well, yeah, and so aside from the endowment, our expenses were much lower because of these issues with a slow start coming out of the pandemic, and then also we were shorthanded with all these people. And again, that saves you in the short term on money, but then you're shorthanded on getting the work done. But we're in a good spot now, starting 2024.
Any other questions?
for those who are interested, I hope you're all interested, the results of the election, the 4 vestry members were reelected. The bylaws, changes in the bylaws require a 2/3 vote, and those both passed. And we're happy to welcome Luke Taylor and Linda Lee to a nominating committee next year. Thank you.
I want to thank you for your ministry. I want to thank you for your passion, for your authenticity, and for your presence today. God be with you. Also with you. Let us pray. Grant, O God, that your holy and life-giving Spirit may so move every human heart, and especially the hearts of the people of this land and of every land, that barriers which divide us may crumble, suspicions disappear, and hatred cease, that our divisions being healed, we may live in justice. It's Christ our Lord. Amen. By the power invested in me, let's start church at 11:25. Thank you all.